Welcome, NutritionRadio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowery, University Nutrition Professor of over 20 years and podcast host of long-running shows like Iron Radio. Come on in. Weight management tips. Hey, everybody. Well, I know this is normally a news show, but we want to also do some tips, weight management tips. Today is a focus on leveraging both internal and external motivation. Anybody who's dieted successfully, and I mean losing 10 or more pounds, I don't know, making the visibility of your abs a little bit more obvious, that sort of thing, made measurable progress, knows that there is an element of delayed satisfaction, delayed gratification when it comes to dieting. In fact, coming up here in a couple episodes, we're actually going to look at some research that questions the potency of exercise versus nutrition for making progress as far as fat loss. It's interesting stuff. But let's talk about this internal and external motivation. The two tips we have today are going to be, number one, list, and number two, share. Now, I know some of you are introverts in nature. I tend to be one of you, and I'm not apt to necessarily share. I don't need a training partner, that kind of thing. But let's take a look at this. Part of this is from the Mayo Clinic. We've talked about them last time, just a staff article that they had. And it just really reinforces a lot of known factors when it comes to behavior and fat loss, weight management. Make a list of what's important to you. So if you want to be motivated, writing stuff down is very important. Journaling is very important for almost everybody. I would not do detailed nutrition or exercise journaling necessarily with someone with a known eating disorder. That's a topic for another day. But for most people, journaling is great. Make a list of what's important to you. So the examples the Mayo Clinic uses is some of this is a little bit superficial, frankly, like looking good in a bathing suit this summer. I hope if you're going to want to look good in a bathing suit this summer, I hope it's January when you're starting, because the time frames are not such that most people, it's April, I better get in shape. Wow. Well, maybe by September, you might catch, the final holiday of the summer if you're going to actually make progress enough for other people to see. Because again, 20 pounds, the physics of that, the numbers are just against you. But in any case, make a list of what's important. What is that for you? Maybe it is a contest. I know not everybody is competitive. Over the years on Iron Radio, we would talk about signing your name on a dotted line. Sometimes that's for strength. With bodybuilding, it's in some ways harder because, it takes an awful lot of continual effort, almost obsession, in order to get a negative energy balance in such a way that you're stripping off fat and sparing as much muscle as possible. But making that list of these motivational factors, that's going to be very important when you hit moments of temptation. I'm a fan of putting that on the fridge and actually between my car seats or even on a little clippy on the dashboard, literally a list. I have a similar list in my car. It's got some philosophical concepts, but it'd be this very similar thing with dieting. So you can look at that, remind yourself when you pass that McDonald's and the smell of French fries flowing into the street, what you are doing over this next 15, 20 weeks, whatever it might be, as far as the progression model for fat loss. If you need some examples or ideas, you could even Google this as far as what might be important to someone. Maybe you just feel a certain sense of dissatisfaction. You feel like you've gained weight recently, whatever it might be. It could be a number on a scale. It could be something visual, a particular body part that you'd like to see change visually. There could be any number of things. It could be more energy, that sort of thing, fitting into different clothes. Whatever your motivation is, it's got to come from within. Even if you look on Google, it's just for ideas and for something that resonates with something within you. So that's number one, listing. Number two is sharing. So share this priority or these priorities with someone that you trust. It could be a training partner, a recipe buddy. Again, nutrition and exercise, the combination really seems to be critical for making this kind of progress. Exercise alone tends to have results that are lower in magnitude but longer in duration, right? More lasting effects, but more modest. Diet tends to have effects that are greater in magnitude but don't last as long when done alone, because you'll tend to revert to your old calorie consumption ways. So combining these two, you get the magnitude and some duration. Good stuff. Now, what if you don't have a training partner or a recipe buddy or that kind of thing? I mean, there are different kind of communities online. There's like the Iron Radio listeners on Facebook, that sort of thing, just to create accountability. If you are not an extrovert or you don't even want to talk to other people in this way, you can keep weight loss plans private, of course. So then how do you make yourself accountable if you can't do it socially? Well, you can do it by having regular weigh-ins. Now, I would be cautious with this, but it is important. The bottom line when it comes to weight management is the number on the scale is going to have to move at some point. I would say every 2 weeks instead of every single week, knowing that it's a short-term goal, it's not a long-term goal, and if you're not budging it at all over 2-week periods, even half a pound or a pound, again, weighing at the same time every day before breakfast, etc., then you might be drifting off course. So the Mayo Clinic does suggest accountability with regular weigh-ins. It could be, and I like this better, it's a more positive and approach strategy, but what about exercise progress? If you are charting strength, it doesn't just have to be fat loss or muscle size. These things are something other than just the scale. We have to keep in mind body composition, and we'll probably tackle body composition as a lecture topic in coming weeks. But body composition is, of course, the body is composed of more than just fat tissue, muscle, water, fat, bone. There's different ways to divide it up. But the point being here is, what is some other exercise progress? Maybe it's that your leg press is really going up every couple of weeks. That's something that's going to change more rapidly than, body fat, percent fat, for example. The other thing might be digital tools. Now, I have mixed emotions about digital tools. I do have some concern about some of these biometric recordings. It's great in that they're automated and sometimes keeping track of how many steps a day, that sort of thing. But a lot of these sensors are going further, heart rate and function, heart rate variability, for example, looking down the road, even continuous blood glucose monitors becoming very popular. A lot of this stuff is creating data, and sometimes I do question, where is that going? I'm not the only one a little bit worried about this. Like, you want insurance companies to be like, I don't know, Jim, you're under a lot of stress lately, your blood pressure's kind of high, I don't like that HRV, your blood sugar's kind of high. We're going to give you higher rates, you're a risky dude. That's the kind of nightmare scenario that you don't want to have. But at the same time, digital tools, if you can ensure privacy and you trust the source, it is a way to help get data. When we measure things, it helps us reach a goal. It's hard to change something that you don't even measure, because how do you know it's even changing? So brief this time. It's just a quick overview. List, right, and post that list, because you're going to enter periods of temptation or where your motivation is strained. And then share, either with a trusted person or small group, or with yourself by means of a journal. Let me say one last thing for you veterans. Beware of the already know this mind. Take this as just a reminder that these things work, things like making lists and being accountable by sharing with yourself or others. These things are important. Take a look at your training log. Take a look at what you've been doing lately. And again, beware of the already know this mind. Those are two things that are going to help you reach that goal, and that's going to be at this time. We'll see you later. The NutritionRadio.org podcast is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, check with your physician, nutritionist, or qualified exercise physiologist in order to make the progress that you need.